Good afternoon, everybody. It's 3:01 p.m. on December 27th, 2020, which is a Sunday. I got my days straight today, so that's great. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump right in. Here's the homepage on wisconsindirect.com. I've got three storms up there now to be watching in the week ahead, including the one that's happening right now. I'm looking out my window. It's snowing. Let's go take a look at the live map. And this is just reflectivity. There's no precip coloring with a county line overlay and the county names just to help situate everybody. And right now, you're seeing most of the snow between La Crosse and Oshkosh, and then up even further than that. There's the main band is located in there somewhere. It's been snowing along this line, basically. I would say from around Vernon or Richland County all the way up to Outagamie, even into Shawano and Oconto County for several hours now. So, looking for some reports in that area. The southern fringe of this main band is right, from basically Oshkosh south to Columbia County. And that'll actually turn to snow. There'll be an inch or so of snow to come after. Uh, I would say it's 3 o'clock now. I'd say you could still get 1 to 3 inches of snow across this region that I just mentioned, where you can see these darker shades of green. But as this back edge slides through, that might give you another 1 or 2 inches and bring it further south, so into Dodge, Washington, Ozaukee counties. There's light snow going on up north too, and there was an inch or two reported around Minneapolis earlier. Let me turn off these county names now because they're driving me nuts. This is all very light snow up here, and yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that at all. But yes, the main zone right now is definitely in here, and that'll be swinging through like this tonight. Okay, awesome. Next, currently we have advisories from basically Vernon County all the way up into lower Upper Michigan, as well as some parts way up in Upper Michigan, but almost up to Escanaba. I don't know what the text is on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were saying 2 to 5, because that's what I'm saying. Here is the latest warnings classic image, I call it. You have a few reports in there, an inch just southeast of Prairie du Chien. No reports elsewhere. Looking outside right now, I see a trace, maybe a dusting, maybe a quarter of an inch on the ground here in Oshkosh. You can see there's a higher reflectivity band moving through right now, but you might get a gap here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing, again, really clearly that's in there. That's kind of the zone right now. Right now. As we take it through this evening, I'm picking it up about now. This is hard to see, but you kind of, again, have that main zone that I circled in the last part. As we take this through time, you're going to see the snow move a little bit further into southern Wisconsin, but not long enough to really amount to much, and then coming to an end before 9 for a lot of us, okay, but maybe even stretching out towards 10 in the far east, Door County, in the upper Michigan areas. So that's the first storm. Now let's go take a look at the homepage here. I have this cool handy dandy thing that I created, but I'm not sure I think it needs a little tweaking yet. But we have three storms, and that's indicated by the coloring here, right? Three storms, and I've got them in a nice on the 7-day outlook, so you can kind of see when they are. This first one is happening now. The second one is pretty certain that there's going to be snow with it. So we're going to be talking about that next. And then you have a third storm here for Friday into Saturday, or I would say mainly Friday, that we're watching that could bring more snow to Wisconsin. Here's a look at the current winter road conditions across Wisconsin, seeing snow covered throughout central Wisconsin, as you might expect, and also in the north, where the last few days haven't been great. Haven't been totally clear either up there. So, but yeah, that's that. Now let's talk about this whole period here, and I'm going to turn it back to now. So this is supposed to be right now, and I'm going at a high level here so you can get that context. I said there's going to be three systems, so let's go through that. There's one. We go into the middle of this week, Tuesday into Wednesday now. When I'm looking at the timing here, it looks like this is mainly overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning for this snow event this week here for Wisconsin. And you're seeing that there's a batch or a slug or a piece of snow that on the reflectivity here prediction that shows moving through Wisconsin there that morning. And then by midday on Wednesday, it's moving out. Maybe some snow flurries hanging on, but damage is really done Tuesday overnight to Wednesday morning. and then it moves off. Right, this was supposed to be a bigger deal than it's turning out to be, and I kind of alluded to that yesterday. And it seems to be going that path, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But then, yeah, as we move into Thursday, Thursday is looking kind of quiet. There's a high pressure in place there, not very strong, but certainly just a weak area of high pressure with another little system building down in here. Okay, what's this all about? Oh, where is this gonna go? Because that's interesting. You think with the high pressure here, it would just stay away, but as we go through time, the GFS now is lifting a pretty significant system for central United States north, okay, towards Wisconsin. So we'd be in the crosshairs if this were to pan out. The GFS is a little bit different, and it doesn't actually strengthen it. It gets to about 995 millibars over Illinois, and then it fills a little bit. So it goes up to 999 over southern tip of Lake Michigan, and the snow shield kind of falls apart a little bit on the GFS. Not all the models look like this, okay? Just one model to consider. But that would be our third system for Friday mainly, at the way things currently look. Now let's focus in on the midweek system. So the Tuesday night, overnight into. Oh, before we do that, I just want to go make sure we covered this good enough. For tonight, the snowfall amounts. This is what I'm expecting. Basically, a band of 2 to 5. Okay, just wanted to show you that. Now we're done with that, and we're going to move into this. Okay, midweek system Tuesday night over into Wednesday morning. What's that looking like right now? This is the NAM, and it's kind of interesting. I only have it on the NAM here. I'm doing the compare models loop. I know why that is. So let's take it back here a second. Let's compare all these models. Where are they at location-wise with the system? Now, there's timing differences, but you're really trying to figure out where is this heavy snow band going to go primarily. In previous runs earlier, like last week around Christmas time, we were looking at heavy snows off in here, but recently it looks like more and more central Wisconsin in that zone, or northern Iowa or southeast Minnesota instead. But let's take a look at the European, what that's kind of saying for around midnight Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. That you're seeing the heavier reflectivity is actually down in here for that. Again, that I explained that in detail yesterday why that is, the warm air advection aspect of it. European and Canadian are not all that different. Remember yesterday, Canadian looked like it was really far south. Now the European kind of looks like that too. Just this one particular prog. Okay, not saying everything overall, but I just find that interesting. But yeah, they're all kind of similar now. So we're not talking so much about a major storm anymore. I think that it's going to snow, and there could be several inches of accumulation, but I'm not seeing the major superstorm issue right now with this system. Let's go a little bit deeper into it now. I just want to show you the trend here. This is a couple days ago what the GFS was showing for this system. And actually, let's just, for the fun of it, let's go all the way back to Christmas Eve. What was this saying? Wow, big old storm there on the GFS that time frame. And then as we went through Christmas Day, it kind of looked like it was holding on there. And then all of a sudden, things started to show a little bit different. You're starting to wonder, what the heck is going on here? So as we moved into yesterday, which was Saturday, we're like, well, okay, it sort of kind of looks like it did before, but a little bit weaker. And then all of a sudden, it started slowly creeping south, cooling off, going weaker and further south. And now we're into the 27th, and the last model run looks a lot like the furthest solutions that we've seen for the storm. So what my point is we talked about, because of the progressive nature of the system, the warm air advection end of it, the fast-moving upper level jet, that there would be a tendency for this storm to weaken or even trend further south, or just not be what it was built up to be last week. So everything's checking out there. What is the snowfall amounts for this system? So I've narrowed it down to a 24-hour accumulation snowfall period. Remove this. Pop up if I can. And I'm just, actually, it looks like I have a model trend loop here. All right, so remember back on Christmas, it looked like, wow, this is going to be a major system here for that area, Minnesota. Now, as we go into today, the one trend you're seeing is that it's not in the same spot anymore for the snowfall, but also you're seeing a general decrease in snow amounts, generally. Now, this will tends to fluctuate, so it's looking like a band, a section or an area. This is actually a pretty big area for that amount of snow. I mean, for a 6 to 10 inch zone, it's pretty large. but that was on the morning run, and then this is the 12Z, which is technically a little bit later in the morning. And you're saying, yeah, no, I'm still in that 6 to 10, but it's even further south. So just something to keep in mind where we've come, right? And that's why one of the reasons why I said yesterday we need to be patient with this, because it could change. And I mean, all the storms, no matter what makeup or characteristics, tend to change as we go through the period. So why would we jump to conclusion 5, 6, or 7 days ahead of time? Okay, now this is going to branch into that third system for Friday, which could bring more snow to Wisconsin. But I'm starting with Tuesday night with that overnight storm. Now this is upper level. This is the geopotential height and the vorticity. Just to show you again, and I went through this yesterday, but you got this positive tilt trough here and a lot of motion from south to north in the jet there. And you're actually mainly warm air advection for the forcing method here over the warm front that's pushing north with this pattern. But you know what? The big thing to note here is this is a positive tilt trough, okay? Not always, but typically you get the biggest snowstorms with a negative tilt or one that's kind of transitioning from a positive into a negative tilt like this, okay? So that trough is rotating around. That's when you get your biggest snowstorms. So when this is coming through there at Tuesday night, midnight into Wednesday morning, not really the signal for a major storm. Okay, I showed you the snowfall amounts. I showed you the precip trend type and the reflectivity simulations. Now I'm showing the upper levels, and what are they all kind of telling you? Well, it's just not that big of a deal. Snow, yes, and the snow can be a big deal, but when we talk about a major winter storm, we want to see winds, we want to see blowing and drifting, maybe some ice involved, and significant snow amounts. That's what would, to me, would describe a major snowstorm, and that's maybe the snow, but none of the other three. Okay, but as we go into the later half of the week, so this is Wednesday, and I'm going to just keep going, you're going to see that positive tilt trough take on a negative tilt across really an interesting area of the country. This is from, I'll just play it through and you'll see. We also have, you're seeing actually, this is probably a different period within that trough life cycle anyways. It's not necessarily the same thing. It's the same southern stream trough, but it's different at the Arctic polar level. And here's that negative tilt now in that southern stream jet that's going to blast out of here. What you're missing is in my opinion, you have another issue with this. Why is this not being involved? I don't totally understand why, and I'm not an expert on the vorticity end here, but that just seems like you would want to see some more action or some more coalescence, togetherness with that part of the southern stream there. But the polar jet is just really not involved, or maybe this is a weak aspect of it. There's something just a little bit off there at the upper levels, even with that later week system. But what you need, and it's that upper level at the southern stream, in the southern stream jet, the upper level trough. This is it goes almost like latitudinal, or I don't know if that's latitudinal. Almost like that trough axis is almost perfectly east and west, and by that point, you're probably going to weaken a little bit because you're almost becoming you're almost retrograding against the mean flow there, in the entire atmosphere, going against the trade winds or whatever you want to call it. But naturally, the winds flow from west to east, and when you start to push back into it, that's a sign that it might be weakening here in this situation. But anyways, I digress. I'm just thinking theoretically there. You can draw whatever conclusion you want about what I just said, but yes, as it moves through, there's your upper level trough, and then maybe some interaction with a polar and upper level jet there, but by that point, the show is already over for Wisconsin. So, that is for a southern stream system, and I've seen some big snowstorms from a southern stream dominated pattern, but wow, it's pretty cool looking. Okay, let's take another look at some other things. Okay, so we're going to talk now about precipitable water in the atmosphere. This is like a measure, and this is the anomaly for precipitable water. So you're saying, relative to normal or average, if there's more moisture in the air, it's more likely to snow heavier. I guess it's kind of the indirect way of saying this. And what I'm just trying to get at is, in terms of moisture availability, what system has the most potential to really go over the top with snow or rain or whatever, really be special that way. I'm not. I'll show you this current storm. The current storm really doesn't even register. It's really close to average, so there's nothing special about it that way. And I'm sure if you went to look, like we could go right back to it, to this one right here. This, for example, okay, you have a system here which looks like it has nice snow bands here, but you have gaps, right? You have areas where it's snowing lighter. Okay, it's not totally fulfilled. Yes, these green spots are nice because that's your pockets of 1 inch per hour snowfall rates, but it's got a lot of gaps in it. So maybe that's a signature of a storm system that has precipitable water near average. Okay, that's just where I'm going with that. Okay, this is an example of what I'm trying to tell you. As we go into that middle week system, this is Tuesday at 21Z, okay? And then as we go towards, let's go to midnight when that system is supposed to be peaking across Wisconsin. Yeah, you get a little bit of a nice surge of moisture there up towards, one standard deviation above the norm for Wisconsin. And that's good. That might be a healthy snowfall in addition to the forcing that might be more focused or better suited for a heavier snowfall, whatever. More a short burst heavy snowfall event, sure. But as we go then into Thursday, in between systems, and then as you go towards Friday now, you're seeing, because look at where this moisture is coming from. It's coming out of the Gulf of Mexico and being driven north into colder air. And the precipitable water then increases pretty exponentially to the point where you get to it on Friday. And it's the issue here with Wisconsin in this particular model run off the GFS is that it looks like the moisture stream is way off to the east now because it's occluding so heavily that you're starting to diminish over here and the focus is more over here now and you'd be more likely. So there's issues with it. That's just so with the Friday system, there's some issues that we have to work through yet. But as we go through time, another way to visualize that, sorry, I'm sitting on my knees today, which is a little bit different, but I like to do that sometimes. So this is the 850 millibar dew point. This is just an easy way to visualize the moisture flow into this system. So this is the midweek system. You get a decent moisture flow into it, but as we go towards Friday, you're seeing that really, really it's digging so far into the Gulf that it's pulling it north, and wow, it really grabs a nice chunk of moisture with it. So my point is that in theory, your Friday system would be the better bet for heavier snowfall, but it's got other issues to work with in terms of the occlusion. It's kind of like blowing up really fast and then falling apart issue that you're going to see here. But yeah, I mean, as it goes through, see, by the time it gets to Wisconsin, the moisture stream has shifted way off onto the East Coast on the GFS. And that's maybe the reason why the GFS is just a little bit weaker for that Friday system. Just another look at the 500 millibar, a little cleaner look at the wind speeds here for that Friday system. You're seeing, wow, I mean, it totally bends over, totally on the negative end there, but then it doesn't do anything, it can't do anything with it because the polar jet is not in phase with it, okay? It's a southern stream system, okay? Now, this is the look at the snowfall amounts, and really, technically I shouldn't be showing you this, but I just kind of want to get a feel for things because I'm going to conclude with, how much snow could we get by this time next week or weekend, and here's a GFS for, it looks like midnight on Saturday. Maybe the storm is still going on at that point, but not a whole lot on the GFS, to be honest with you. Look at the higher res GFS. It's a lot different. Not the higher res, but just a different version of it. And it actually looks a lot like the European if I had it on the 10-1. But yeah, I mean, this would be another 6 to 10 inch zone probably in there with that system if everything came together just right. And the GFS is a different idea. But I mean, it's not like I can sit here and go, well, GFS, says this, so it's not going to happen. Because if we look at, before we get to that, here's a different comparison of all the models. European is the one that's really leading the way, in my opinion. You're seeing that big snow band off of the northwest flank of this low pressure system as it moves like this, okay? That would be a signature for a heavy snow probably. GFS is a lot like that, but further south. The Canadian is further south even than that, and that's fine. And then the GFS, which looks very similar to the European in terms of location, but maybe it's just a little bit crazy in terms of the intensity. So So, anyways, there's the information for total and full disclosure on that. Now, this is what I like to look at again. Here's a trend from, we're going to take it up from yesterday morning. And you're going to see that for that time frame on noon on Friday when the storm is supposed to be coming through, that, wow, there is nothing going on here on this model. There's a high pressure system so this is a couple days ago, this is what it was showing. But as time has gone on, each run, now watch how the system off the East Coast starts to trend back towards the west. See how that's going? Okay, so it's on a definite, a hard western trend with this system. So it's come out of nowhere basically to interrupt your Friday, New Year's Day time frame. But who's to say that this western trend is gonna stop right where it is today? This could keep going. You never know. It could go. You could end up with a low tracking over here, going up this way. You know what I mean? With the snow over here still. That's not out of the question for that Friday storm. Looking at 126 hours out, that's not out of the question at all. So my point is this: that Friday system has a lot of potential with it, also a lot of issues to work with, but it's kind of popping into to our viewer. We're starting to take a look at it because it's starting to matter now to Wisconsinites, so let's pretend for a second, right? Let's pretend that all these storms go as currently forecast that I just showed you, without any major track changes here on out. What kind of snowfall amounts could we expect by this time, 3:22 p.m. next Saturday? The European at a simple 10-to-1 ratio, okay, it's going to do better than that in some places. It might be 15-to-1 for some event, okay, or 12-to-1 for some event. But anyways, at any rate, it's not out of the possibility that you could have a foot of snow along this axis somewhere in Wisconsin by this time next week. Snow depth, okay, maybe there's some compaction in there, but in terms of total snow that falls from the sky and hits the ground, and we assume it accumulates, could reach that amount, okay? The Canadian is a little different, and it always is a little bit different. The GFS is lighter, but kind of similar, and this is another GFS version, I guess. I'm not real familiar with V16, and I tend not to use it, but it looks a lot like the European, so it just kind of makes me feel better, I guess. I don't know. But you're seeing, okay, that's interesting. So, yeah, if everything came together just right, this includes tonight's snowfall, this includes Tuesday night into Wednesday, and Friday potentially if things all came together. So that's what we're looking at. That's what I'm kind of game planning for. But this is really, I can pretend, right? I can wish and dream because I live here and I want to see the snow right in here personally. The issue you can run into when you try to overlap all these storms that by the end of the week, this is your perfect amount, is that each storm itself is a wild card essentially, and that if it's just a little bit different, this whole falls apart. It's like a glass house or a house of cards, right? You take one card up, poof, it all falls down. So that's why I tend not to do this, but it's just something that I thought might be interesting to you. So that's all I have today. Thank you for watching. I'm going to try to keep updating on the website. I'm about to move off of the snow for tonight and move into the midweek storm and make a map for that. And it might be a day or two yet before I speculate on the New Year's Day storm for Friday. Typically I don't, and I won't because you have two systems tonight and Tuesday night that once the snow is on the ground, maybe it changes some of the physics or the aspect, the parameterization of the models, and then they show something different, So again, the whole period basically from beyond the midweek storm, so Wednesday to Friday night, that storm system to me is still on thin ice and the confidence is low. Thank you for watching, guys. I will do my best to keep you updated. Have a great week. Go Packers, and I will talk to you guys soon. See ya.